My name is Nancy Fox. I'm a psychic medium. Medium for God, DBA is my psychic business name, my prophet writer name. And I'd like to speak to you now from the Lord Richard Nixon, who's here to say, I've been channel writing for Nancy Fox for many years now, since 2009. I am actually the main one who she's a medium for most of the time. I am the one who is intervening the majority of the time is the wording, and I'm the one who is writing, typing for her diligently, and handwriting for over a year, many years actually, as she was handwriting for me and typing diligently, and we type together, write together perfectly. We are a great team. She gets across every word I am saying, even with the right vocabulary, and that is me, the Lord Richard Nixon, and I'm here to say I'm stopping slavery internationally by my medium, Miss Nancy Gale Fox. And we are doing this diligently, night and day. I hand wrote the formula that they used to take people to slavery. She wrote 20 pages by hand from me, and she dropped it off at the Van Nuys police station on the desk. And ran off, and I was being funny. She ran off as she knows they capture people by framing people to police stations, fire stations, sheriff stations, courthouses, every government agency. That's how they take people helplessly through the system so they are not reported missing. And she figured this out in 2009 summer, or spring rather, or so. Around June, she said, oh my God, the human sex traffic at Department of Child Protective Services. 2008 summer, my angel board said they sold us to slavery by two or more liar sons of Satan conspiracy. And that's what her angel board kept reiterating, that you're the son of God and it's the son of God conspiracy. And two or more liars frame and take people to slavery, and that was her angel board reading all through summer 2008 and to the end of 8. And then in 2009, she saw the lies told about her to the Department of Child Protective Services, a place that should never be knocking on the best mom's door, Nancy Fox, the River Farm Drive mom, the AA old-timer who's now in her 30th year of sobriety, who does absolutely nothing wrong, who is trained in parenting, read many books, and is in a 12-step program in Al-Anon and ACA and CODA in her 20s, and is into nurturing herself, nurturing her children, and self-love, and meditating, and peacefulness, and doesn't like drama, hates drama, and doesn't manipulate, and doesn't gossip or repeat anything she shouldn't, and she's honest, ethical, and straight as an arrow and a straight shooter, her real estate customers call her. And she does absolutely nothing wrong purposefully and checks herself on it every night and day. And she's been this way many, many years and always would share in meetings. That's how I stay sober so long. I don't do anything wrong. You don't have guilt, shame, or remorse, then you don't have the urge to relapse. So when she saw lies were told, when they knocked on her door, she said, oh my God, and people lied to the sheriff she was suicidal and never been in her life. Copy cases like gasoline. Then her sister lied to DCFS, and she's a practicing alcoholic and says no business speaking to them. And she called and lied that her sister wasn't taking her medication. Well, Nancy Fox doesn't take medication, never has, never will, never would need it. And that is horrible to say that, and that her evil brother lied suicidal. Those two lies set her up, and that's how they rip off her money. They set her up to steal her son of God funds, and they set him up to sell him to slavery. And they said stalkers, or the mortgage broker did in summer 2008, that scared him to death. And then pages of lies were told about Nancy Fox, the best mom, AA old-timer by a practicing alcoholic, and her brother who molested her. So the dysfunctional, mean ones, the sinners in the family, lied about the good son of God, the best mom, Nancy Fox, and who worked so hard on her spirituality to rip her off. And they set it up years ago with Nancy's old wardrobe assistant that they would steal her son of God jobs when they arrived, and that's what they've been doing. And Jan stole it off the front door 2005 from River Farm Drive, and it was Nancy's job from China to save females that they had planned for when that moment arrived. Oh, you have arrived at your spiritual source. You're on your angel board. Here's a job we have planned for you since your birth, and your money and your funds to save females. Please fax us the angel board answers to these questions, and here's our fax line number. Well, Jan stole the whole thing, and she's supposed to be the day runner assistant, and that's what we're saying from heaven. and said she could have half the pay and use it to check Nancy's tips with detectives. Well, Jan never gave Nancy the job, didn't give her the questions or the fax numbers. She told Linda Fox, I'll just steal it from I Spy, and then we'll take all of her money, all her son of God money, they call it. Well, this is money from a China lady and a China man. This is not son of God White House money. This is money from a family in China that they stole. So they didn't give her the questions for the angel board, so, or the fax numbers to fax to. And the detectives they use are the ones who do the slavery. And they also stole it so they could cover up top secret exchange, how they capture people secretly, and how they frame them, and how they do I Spy and Peeping Tom and capture them by ambulance, fire truck, and police sheriff setups to highway patrol the people driving by stealing money, overdrafting, to handcuff them helplessly to death. And Jan and Linda didn't know it's death. They're lied to. It's a spiritual mission. So they got two people that are ignorant to steal Nancy's job so that Nancy couldn't crack the case wide open of how they do top secret exchange slaughtering, raping, torturing, and trafficking, and lobotomy, hysterectomies, and they do it by ambulance, police, sheriff setups, and fire department setups. So number one, Jan and Linda stole the job so Nancy couldn't crack the case and explain how they run top secret exchange. Number two, they stole it because they wanted to steal the son of God White House money. And they plotted it out since Nancy was 17. And they plotted it out every day since. Oh, they would take her son of God job when it arrived, and then they run around and say, no way she's the son of God. Oh, she did such and such when she was partying. Well, this was before age 25. This was when she was working on movies, drinking vodka martinis, and in her teens she went to Hollywood and clubs and partied and got sober completely at age 25, February 9th, 1985, and has stayed sober since that day, and Jesus Christ removed the obsession to drink alcohol from her being, and she felt it lifted, and then slept peacefully, and before that had been sweating and couldn't sleep and uptight, and early sobriety 60 days or so, and she stayed sober, and they ran around saying, no way she'll stay sober, no way she'll stay sober, we'll take her son of God, no way she can do them. And so they tell old stories from before age 25, and they plotted this out, and they've got an airhead and a drunk lying there, the son of God, assume the son of God role to stop slavery. So they do the slavery, top secret exchange, and they cover up the system. They cover up Nancy's tips and then steal all her profit pay that is sent for her 5 years of charity work. So they're stealing her money, and they have hackers stealing it, and they have been planning this. In 2007, $10 million came for Nancy Fox, and $1 million or $2 million for her boyfriend, at the time Sean Finnegan, and he was supposed to buy a condo at Summer Shore Lane at the end of River Farm Drive cul-de-sac. It said, through the gate, stone's throw away. Your honey can live right on your street, practically, and then he can guard you and your children and elderly mother with his life. So here's money for him to buy a Summer Shore one-story condo. Your mom could live in it later, and have your mom ask him to give you the big diamond ring your grandma that she promised you of your grandma as a promise ring or boyfriend, girlfriend, or going steady or engagement ring. And so that was what they said in this life letter from Japan. $10 million for Nancy Gail Fox, the emergency angel, La Emergency Angelica, the son of God, born November 4th, 1959. And you're so great, the fastest angel board reader in history, the honest, ethical real estate lady dressed so nice in your stylish suits, the longtime AA member. You can speak out at podiums like you do in AA meetings, and you can have your office at the landing. Here's money for the lease, be on the waterfront doing your angel board. Here's money to buy a house in Sherwood on the lake in the old part that you love, so you can sit there peacefully and serenely doing your work and be right by Jessica at Foxfield. And here's money to build a ballet studio for Hannah. And we recommend that you gate your driveway like you would love to do, so you're safe and secure with your honey on the cul-de-sac. And then here's his pay, and here's money for you, and then here's some money for you to hire a staff. And that's what it said, and that was ripped off the front door and possibly from a real estate office building. 5 places it was left, a custom-designed job for Nancy Gail Fox, only in the palm of her hand. Stolen by a mortgage broker, and damn Jan and damn Linda, who maybe didn't even know. They rewrote the whole job description. That all this is custom made for Nancy Fox, realtor, AA member, angel board reader. And and best mom and honest, ethical, spiritual person, and it's custom designed for Nancy Fox. And it said, we're so happy you're in your peaceful retreat. Your mission home is so serene across from the church where you hear the church bells ringing. Perfect spot to do your mission now to save females around the world. We're so happy you bought your home. Here's the rest to pay the mortgage off. As the China family sent you a lump sum of $850,000 to pay the first off in 2005. That was stolen, and the money in 2007 was stolen. And then China, or Japan rather, Prime Minister could have been, or United Nations, they sent $80,000 in 2009 spring to pay down the minimum that was left, so it would be $0 or $2 or something. Never allowed to change the title on the house. Then they sent a notice, all the people that were lying, the 2 or more lied conspiracy, who were framing Nancy Gail Fox and her daughters, and also Denise Fox conspiracy. The people that were harming them and breaking and entering and catnapping and peeping Tom and gin planning and I Spy and all the creepy witchy things they did in stealing Denise's rings and on and on and on and on, and putting chemicals in food to kill brain cells and breaking in the attic, and anybody who was slandering the family or embarrassing them were supposed to pay Nancy a slander fee in 2009 spring. And it was a very long, explicit note that said, Japan Prime Minister would like you to pay a slander fee from the 2 or more lied son of Satan conspiracy at River Farm Drive in the palm of Nancy Fox's hand. Her daughter shouldn't be there. We don't want to hear how mean everybody is. And they're minor girls that they can't know. They've been exploited with peeping Tom and Uncle Ed, Uncle Sid, Sobel, and Janine and put all over the state. That's what it said. 2009, 2 more lives were to pay Nancy money, and nobody did. They're still lying, and they're still spending every nickel she's making. And I am the Lord Richard Nixon. This is monotony. This is insanity. This has gone on so long, this devil conspiracy. This must be stopped, please, immediately. Nancy's worked so hard to get her books published by us, John Lennon, God, Jesus, me, Richard Nixon, John F. Kennedy, Princess Diana, Lady Diana Wales. She's trying to publish her book to get the word out of how to save people, and they steal her mail. So she's been working very hard to make herself well known so people will call her for Stop Slavery Reading, so she can get her books published so people will read them all internationally, so they will know how to save the people. And they are stealing her mail. They are stealing her profit thank you money. They are stealing her Medium for God money. They are stealing her mail. They are stealing her presents and award ceremonies and letters and party invitations and magazine interviews. They call and lie. They're her assistant, and no, they're not. So they stop it all up. That's what Jan Sobel's job is to stop up communication. She's blocking the profit, and she's paid by the White House for many years, $400 a week or $400 a year it could have been for a while, since Nancy was 17, since 1977. She is paid a salary to protect the prophet, son of God, Nancy Fox. And she is the one framing her and ripping her off. And she is the one blocking the communication of the prophet, and runs around and says, I assumed her son of God job. Oh, me and Cynthia and Linda, we all agreed. Oh, we don't think she's a son of God, because we have all these old stories from her drunken days in her early 20s and when she was 17. No way she's a son of God. We do her job. We take her mail money and say she's too disorganized and couldn't do it. So we hack her and steal it and rewrite it, and then we FedEx it, and then we take her money and her mail and say that we're her assistants and say we cover it. And that's what they do every day. And they've done it for 5 years. And every place Nancy would send a fax by my writing for her, Richard Nixon, Jan would call and Linda and Steve and Ed and say, don't read it. And then they would send the bullshit, John Lennon's words here, and cover it all up and send their cover-up tips. And they cover it up because they do the top secret exchange. And that is how they take people to barbaric, raping, torturing, barbaric slavery that is so horrific you cannot fathom it. So they would call everywhere, say, don't read it, and here they are paid to cover the profit. They are on a salary to be bodyguards, so no harm is done to the son of God, Nancy Gail Fox. And they are the ones stealing her Wall Street money. They are the ones stealing her son of God mail. They are supposed to be her fan club and bodyguards. And they are the ones framing her and ripping her off and covering up the prophet's tips. So they are blocking, stonewalling the prophet, Nancy Fox, and they are stealing every nickel she's making. She's worked her tail off, sending her resume around the world, sending letters for book deals, and sending our tips all over the world. She has sent my speeches every place. They've gone around the world 20 times. She's the emailing messiah, emailing and emailing, and fax forever, 10-hour faxes. She wrote for God for 10 hours one day, didn't even have a restroom break, writing and writing her heart out, her heart and soul, and faxing all night, sleeping on a pillow by the fax machine. And on that subject, they also stole all of her CAF vet money. And they would even call the vets and say, oh, no, that's not for her, that piece of crap. Oh, we're giving that to charity. And that's what they do to all of Nancy's prophet presents that she has worked so hard for. And they're stealing her home titles. Those are safe houses to protect the Son of God. In 2009, motorcade was on the freeway with Nancy Fox as ordered from Japan Prime Minister. And who sent it away? Jan Sobel. She's a silent sting. And she saw Nancy that day, didn't say a word about it. Oh, we're not doing that, they say. Oh, we don't need the limo and motorcade for the Son of God. That's what they do, and they give all of her presents away. And they are the devil in L.A.